All right, troops, welcome to the Action Elite. My name is Owen. So tonight we're going to be covering Masters of the Universe starring Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella from 1987. So before we get into that, though, I'm just going to bring in the squad and we're just going to have a chat about a few things before we get into it. So first off, I'm going to bring in Charlie.
What's happening?
Hello there. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Next up, we have Sean.
Hey.
How are you?
So,
And welcome to John from Action Fix.
Good evening, everybody.
All right. And finally, a reason to actually do this, J-Man.
hey. I already have it.
Actually, finally a reason for it. Yeah. So, so we're going to talk Masters of the Universe. But before we get to that, I know you're probably going to, why are you going to talk about this? But I just want to hear, J-Man is just back from theater, from seeing Madam Web. So do tell, what was it like?
Oh, there you go, right there.
I think this is like, well, it's awful. But I went to go see it. Everyone bailed on me. So I went on my own, which is fine. And I went in thinking this will be a very awful movie, but you'll have the Spider Women jumping around. There'll probably be a fight at the end with the Spider Women fighting Ezekiel or something. None of that happens. Ezekiel has a dream in the beginning of the film about the Spider Women, the three of them killing him. And so it's a dream. So it's just quick cuts, and then that's it. And then he's like, well, now I've got to preemptively kill them before they end up killing me at some point. And then I'm watching the movie. I'm like, when are they, like, they don't have any powers. Like, when are they going to get their powers in costume? Like, what's going on? And then I was checking my watch. Actually, I wasn't bored, but like, I was like, okay, what's the point of this movie? And then I looked at it, was like 90 minutes in. I'm like, this movie's only 2 hours. They don't have their powers. I'm like, are they not in this? And then they weren't in it. Like, they're in the three girls are in it, but they don't have any powers. They're just running around and Madam Web's trying to protect them. And it's like Ezekiel versus Madam Web, who can't use her powers. And even if she could use them, they're not that formidable. He can kind of see the future when the plot requires him to see it, but not enough to do anything really special, whereas she can see it whenever the plot requires her to see it so that she can come in for the save at the very end. It's one of these contrived, like stories. And then at the very, very end, she sees the future and sees the Spider Woman for like a second. I'm like, that's it. The entire effing campaign is that, like, Sydney Sweeney with her, tight Spider Woman outfit, all the women, and then the girl with, like, she's got like the spider leg things behind her. You're like, okay, that is not in the movie. It's 1 second in the movie. What a disgusting bait and switch. It wasn't a bait and switch like you thought it was going to be a good movie, and then they switch it to garbage, or whatever, that character. It's like, they're not even in it. It's like, you sat down and I thought, well, the Spider Women will be cool. They're not in it. I can't believe it. I was just like, this is crazy. So when am I supposed to review this movie? I reviewed it. It's on my channel. I'm not going to give my review now. The link to my channel is in the description of this video, plus in the chat. Go check out my review right now. It's going to get a lot of views, I know, because I put Madam Web is garbage. And whenever I put that, I get lots of views. So
yeah, it's nothing like negativity to bring in the traffic. Works every time, and people love negativity. What was interesting, Sean, you mentioned in the conversation before, it's similar to what they did with Snake Eyes. Like, new Snake Eyes thing, and then like he appears in like 15 seconds at the end of the movie, and like the rest is like nothing to do with it.
I said 3, but like,
like even that. Yeah.
I was so stunned because they had figures and they had a lot of that costume in the marketing, and he's like not even in it, and he's the villain of the movie, and there's no G.I. Joe. Like, it's just, what is this? Anyway.
Storm Shadow was the more interesting character.
Yeah, he's the hero, really. He got wronged by. Anyways, that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
Like, who wrote this? A chimpanzee? Like, God. Anyway.
Probably. So we're going to move on to Masters of the Universe. Now, I don't know about anyone else, but this is one of my earliest memories of seeing a movie in the theater. Now, I've got to give another shout out to my brother Greg. If anyone goes to the site, theactionelite.com, you'll have seen my article the other day, remembering the childhood trauma of the Transformers, the movie. Where they killed off Optimus Prime and like half the Transformers. Like, what the hell? And so he took me to see that, and then Greg also took me to see Masters of the Universe. And I haven't spoken to him about it for a while. I can't remember what he thought of it. He probably doesn't even remember. But I remember loving the movie as a kid because it was He-Man. And, we grew up watching the cartoon. There were things about it which still bother me to this day. And in fact, I'm going to get into them now, and I'll just let the abuse go. But the thing is with the movie, any flaws with this movie, I think, are purely due to budget restrictions. And then I think that was the problem, is that they didn't have the budget because there's no battle cat. But how would you have even done that, like, before CGI though, really?
Right.
You know, to make that work. I think there wasn't enough of He-Man being strong and actually being He-Man. There's only one point where he pushes the pillar over at the end. It's like, okay, that's a He-Man moment. But there wasn't really anything else. Anything else, he's just a dude. There wasn't anything that really sort of separated him. Yeah, he uses a laser gun most of the time, kind of like the cartoon, where he does use his sword at some point. And sorry, I actually took notes for some of the things I wanted to mention here. I also think Karg sucks. Just looks ridiculous with the ridiculous hair. I just laugh. I think as a kid, I loved Karg and I thought it was really creepy. But none of these characters, apart from Beastman, were like in the cartoon. I thought Blade was awesome though, and Blade was always awesome. Like, he was cool. But now some of them are canon, aren't they? Like, wasn't Blade in like the newish cartoon? Yeah.
Yep, they added him now, so he's canon.
Yeah. And then the other thing was that there's no Prince Adam or Randor in it. He's just like He-Man all the time, which is fine, but there's no like other identity or whatever. So I thought that was kind of weird. Also, I'm still not sure how I feel about Gwildor. I know he was kind of a replacement for Orko, but it's Billy Barty, so you can't say anything really bad. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I still love the movie. Amazing score by Bill Conti, even though it's not the theme of the cartoon. It still has a great heroic, swelling, very optimistic 80s sounding score, the type you just don't hear anymore. I think Frank Langella was frankly incredible as Skeletor, and like, even watching it now, I'm like, how is this guy still so awesome? He's like up there with like the Emperor from Return of the Jedi. That's who's kind of channeling at points. I thought he was great. I love that. Dolph really looks the part as He-Man, even though he says like 3 or 4 lines of dialogue in the entire movie. But the way he says, "I have the power" and everything, perfect. What else was I going to say? Love Chelsea Fields' Tila. She was cool, and she was still strong at the same time. And I forgot that she was the air stewardess in Commando as well. I think one of the best pieces of casting, though, was John Cypher as Man-at-Arms. That just looked exactly like the cartoon brought to life. I cannot believe how good that was in terms of casting. He really looked the part. I enjoyed James Tolkien as Lubick, but it's just him being the same as he is and everything. Yeah. I love him, but he's just the same as he was in Back to the Future and Top Gun or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, Strickland again or whatever else. But you still love him anyway. Also, Courtney Cox was hot. Are we allowed to say that? Well, I am.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I still enjoy the movie. Lots of action, very well paced. So that's all I'm going to say about it. And I'm just going to let everybody else go. So I'm going to go to Sean first.
Okay. Well, I saw the trailer for this, I think, in front of Over the Top, which came out, I think, earlier that year or something like that. And I went on a tangent just now to look at the figures for Over the Top, and they all have like butt crotch. It's weird. Anyway, yeah. So I saw it, and I back in those days, I didn't. You don't know that movie's coming out, right? So I was like stunned that they were making a Masters of the Universe movie, and Skeletor looked on point, Evelyn looked on point, it looked awesome, and it had that movie logo. You know how they make it more than, so it's like all 3D and stuff. And I was like, oh, and even this stuff, like I was 10, well, I was like 9 going on 10. And even the stuff that like, obviously it's set on Earth mostly because they can't afford to like make tons of sets for another planet. But, they have that guy saying like, now the battle comes to Earth. And I super marked out for like, oh, it's coming to Earth. Like they're going to like fight in the streets and they're going to like rip up stuff. And it's going to be awesome, So I didn't think of it as like, oh, it's because they can't like afford, like I was like, oh, it's going to be awesome. They're going to fight here. Yeah. So I saw the movie in the theater when it came out. I think it came out maybe August or so, like towards the end of the summer vacation. I always thought it was awesome. The music, anytime anyone tries to ape that John Williams music, I love it.
Same.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I love the whole like they're doing the Superman thing with the credits and all that stuff. That was great. As a kid, you're gonna be perturbed by the fact that like Castle Grayskull doesn't look like Castle Grayskull, and I never missed that like Gwildor was supposed to be like an Orko stand-in. I just thought like a new character, right? Because like I was used to like Transformers and stuff, right? Where they just have new guys and it's the next level of this thing, right? Yeah, Skeletor was awesome, and I think Frank Langella has said like that's his most favorite role.
Yeah,
was that thing? Even though he's caked under makeup, he like super shines through. All the stuff with the discs and everything was awesome. And then when we got the DVDs of this, and the director was talking about how he wanted to make a New Gods movie, and that never happened. And J-Man just did the whole Fourth World thing. You totally see that this is kind of New Gods as well. So there's an added dimension. If you're a comic nerd, this is the closest thing to a New Gods movie you can get, really. And Skeletor is Darkseid.
Yeah, it's Darkseid.
Yeah, it's awesome. All the new characters were cool. I was, perturbed that they didn't have guys like we love, like Trapjaw and stuff.
Yeah.
And like a dumb kid, I was like, why does Beastman have braids, right? But now I'm okay with it. And you get older and things change. You're like, oh, it's awesome that they made a Beastman. I'm kind of with you, Owen. Like Card kind of looks like B. Arthur now. It's back in the day he was very effective looking, but now it's like he looks like a baby girl.
Damn.
But yeah, no, the movie I've seen it so many times. Like I didn't even rewatch it for this because I've seen it so many times that I love it. I remember recording the opening music when it played on City TV here. So I could have the soundtrack. Just taping it off the TV. All that stuff. It's a fantastic action picture, even though it strays away from the cartoon stuff that kids were familiar with. I always loved it as just a straightforward science fiction action thing. If this is another iteration of He-Man, I'm for it because, like I mentioned, the discs and all that, they still had cool set pieces that weren't in any other movie. It was still bringing it. And I know that there was money put into this, but it was still fairly low budget compared to other movies, and it's still brought it. So yeah, I always thought it was cool. I still think it's awesome. I love that now it's a big classic, cult classic. I think it made money in a theater.
I think it did. Yeah,
it wasn't not a hit. But yeah, I just I'm glad it's getting a lot of love now with Blu-rays and 4Ks and stuff. Well, not 4K just yet, right? But yeah,
and that'll be in a few months once everyone's bought the Blu-ray.
Yeah,
which is what they always do.
Yeah. Thanks, Umbrella.
Yeah, thanks for that. So, so answer in the comments below who's hotter, B. Arthur or Karg. Let us know.
I gotta go with Karg.
Can't disrespect B, man. Come on, she's a golden girl.
Golden, yeah. My mom watched it. I used to watch with my mom.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm just going to go through some of these comments and we'll say this. So, Legion of Comics, Dolph over Kevin Smith, correct?
For sure.
Better than, yeah.
Root Canal over Kevin Smith. I have the power. I was definitely he was a great Skeletor.
Absolutely.
It's funny. It was the first time Skeletor was scary. though. I remember being scared of him as a kid because in the cartoon he was just funny.
He just yelled boobs all the time.
Yeah, you bumbling fool or whatever. Yeah.
Well, he's able to kill a guy in the movie. So just to show
it disintegrates him. Yeah. Meg Foster was amazing as evil, and she was always great as a villain. Yeah. Did James Lundgren call him a slacker? No, but he does sort of give Kevin some shit in it though.
You're waiting for him to say slacker with that whole thing with Kevin. Yeah,
it did.
True. Yeah, and they were just going to self implode anyway. Really, I think so. Now, J-Man, I'm leaving you till last, obviously, because this is like your thing. So.
He's got more hair.
John, your thoughts on that?
That's messed up, man.
All right, so again, I'm old enough where I've seen all these opening weekend. I was blessed to and my parents were great. Every time I wanted to go to the movies, they let me, and especially if it wasn't R-rated, because I wasn't officially watching R-rated movies unless they were at home. So I was always able to see these on the big screen and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna lie. So as a kid growing up, it was G.I. Joe's been my first love, and then it was Transformers, then it was Masters of the Universe. But it was my top three, and I loved the fact that they did the live action movie, and I like that they went like Golan and Globus, God bless them. They just went. They're like, you know what? If we're gonna make any type of movie, we're just gonna go balls out and just like, if we go bankrupt on this one, so be it. But I just remember the biggest thing I loved about it was the Star Wars element to it, because I was always big into Star Wars, and I don't remember. Owen, if you remember when we were talking about James Bond, I love Moonraker because they had space battle. Like here, it's like I love the army, and they had ray guns, and He-Man had a ray gun, and he didn't use a sword as much, but I loved like laser battles and stuff like that. So as a kid, I love that aspect to it, and just like how ambitious it was. I'm not gonna lie though, I'm not a fan of them going to Earth, because I thought that was kind of like, I wanted it to be on, the whole time, on Eternia. I wanted them to be like, trying to deal with that situation. But then, and as a kid, I could have cared less about Courtney Cox was hot, yes, but I could care less about her and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was annoying, I thought. So I didn't enjoy him that much, but it was all about Dolph Lundgren. And I heard, is it true? Like they dubbed him like either with somebody else's voice or his own? They did it
his
in
own
ADR.
voice.
Yeah,
so 3 chances to do his voiceover.
Yeah,
and they finally got it on the 3rd.
That's okay. I remember listening to that too. But just the scope and the music, like you already touched base on the music, but how awesome is that ending? Like when he's trying to get the sword and they're shooting at him and the music's just swelling, and he's gonna pick the sword up and he's gonna say the line. And then when he finally does it, normal people would probably look at it as the cheesiest thing ever, but then we're just like, yes. We're just like glowing. It's like we've been waiting the whole movie for this one moment. Even though like when he's wielding the sword and stuff like that, he it looks like it weighs 150,000 pounds in terms of him. Okay, so but at the same time, because he's swinging it, and when he fights Blade in the alley, it's like you can tell like Blade's like sitting there, he's got the double swords, and He-Man's like move the sword. It's like did they make it just a little too heavy for Dolph? I don't know. I mean, the guy's a big boy, but it's like it just looked like he had some issues with that.
They told him not to break it, probably.
Yeah, right.
What it was. Like, we got one.
Yeah, we don't have another one for this. So yeah, but I wasn't a fan of the Earth element, but it's grown on me, and I love everything about the space aspect of like the laser battles and his battle at the end when he pulls the sword out. That was just a come to Jesus moment in terms of being a fanboy. So I mean, if I had to give it a rating out of 5, I'd give it a 3.5. Probably I would probably give it higher, like if they didn't do the whole Courtney Cox and her boyfriend thing, because like I said, they just weren't needed. Let's just watch these characters, because this is what we want to see. But they had to ground it for like regular people that probably didn't like love Masters of the Universe as much as us. So like when they do adaptations, sometimes they have to like do things like that to kind of draw in other people and stuff like that, which I get. But as fans, we just want what we want, and in terms of those characters, we just wanted more of that at the same time. So yeah, so I've seen it a million times. I actually have it on the TV right now as we're doing this right now. I'm watching it, so just because it's kind of cool to be watching it at the same time. But yeah, like I said, it's what Dolph Lundgren owned it. Like he said, because it was his early acting stage. What he did, like Rocky IV and Red Scorpion, So he's like, you know what, this is my chance to shine, And he was probably disappointed they never did a sequel. So yeah, so big fanboy moment to me as growing up. Yep.
Yeah, I quite like the Courtney Cox storyline because it just gives the story just a bit of heart, and then. Although obviously I would have preferred the film to take place entirely on Eternia and just you could have just done something there, but what they did with it, I didn't have too much of a problem with it. I thought it just particularly whenever she like says don't get in that plane at the end and runs off, I was just kind of tear up a little bit there, and I'm just like, oh no. But yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Anyway, Charlie.
So J-Man, how deep are you going to get into this tonight with me?
I mean, this is like, I mean, I don't know how, like, I've got like literally pages of stuff. So how do you want to do this?
I've got
You're the fan. You're the mega fan. So
well, like, Charlie's in there too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I can't turn my camera because it fucks with my internet hookup, but my wall of Masters of the Universe, my Masters of the Universe. No, I want to answer one thing though, real quick, before we get into my history with it, that everyone's been bringing up. And it's one of the things that I didn't know right away. I had to research it. They couldn't use most of the characters from Filmation because they didn't have the rights to them. Filmation wouldn't give it up.
Oh, okay.
Because Filmation was actually creating characters and then Mattel would make a toy. That was their deal. So the movie only had access to the original mini comic characters that were first published, which is why we only get He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Teela, no Adam, no Battle Cat, we got Beastman, we got Evil Lynn. What is it? The original 8 J-Man is
whatever it is. Well, I mean, Merman I think was in there, but no, he wouldn't have been, because Merman would be too hard to have like Atlantis.
Yeah, right.
Like,
so a lot of it does come down to budget, which is why they moved it to Earth and not Eternia. But see, they didn't have, and they did have a planned set for Snake Mountain. They actually mentioned Snake Mountain twice in the movie. So there was a lot of stuff that came down to it. Also, Canon didn't really lose any money on this movie. Mattel did, because Canon made Mattel pay for almost everything. They were supposed to split it 50-50.
That sounds like them.
And Canon went, okay, you guys put up your 50 first. Mattel put up their 50, got done with that money, and they went, yeah, well, we're going to need a little bit more or it's not going to get done, and really kind of put Mattel over a barrel. And there's a lot. I want to save some stuff for J-Man to get into, and also as we discussed. But me as a kid, man, I was 8 years old when this movie came out. I didn't get to go to the theater because that was like a very special occasion thing. Had this maybe come out on my birthday or something, definitely would have been something they would have took me to. Yeah, that's what we all grew up with, was that lore from Filmation. But there was a whole nother storyline with the toys when they first came out. So yeah, I watched this when it first came out on rental. My dad rented it for me. I remember going to the video rental store and seeing the poster on the window, and you're just like, yeah, there's a He-Man movie. We got to get it. And as a kid, I fell in love with this. My logic as a kid was, well, of course they have to do it this way. That's how you do a movie about He-Man. It's not a cartoon. So this is what they obviously had to do. And I was there for it, man. I've been hooked on this movie forever. Never really understood the hate till I got older, and I could be like, okay, I kind of maybe I see where some of the arguments are, about not having all the characters, or you can definitely see the lack of, budget in it. But man, I was just there for it. This is my first Dolph Lundgren movie. Because at 8 years old, I wasn't watching the action movies, and I was not really into the Rocky movies. No. So this was Dolph to me. So anytime I've seen Dolph later, it's like, oh, there's He-Man. There's He-Man in this movie. I love this. I've collected the toys. I still collect the toys. Like me and J-Man both have a competition on which one did you get now? I'm getting this one. I'm not paying that much for that one. Well, I did. But it's
that was Moss Man.
It was Moss Man.
Moss Man was my favorite.
Yep. He's $40 right now if you go to the store and buy him. Yeah. I know it's a steep price. Wow. But He-Man has been a core part of my upbringing and still part of my life, and that includes the movie. I just absolutely love watching this. Like Sean, I didn't need to watch it. I've literally just had it on in the background today, not sitting down and watching it. Just, okay, there's that part. That part's cool. My only complaint is not fully on Courtney Cox, but the way she falls for Evil Lynn dressed as her mom. No, that's my mom. I have to give it to her. I'm like, she's dead. Like my argument should have been like, maybe they should have shown like Evil Lynn doing like a true enchantment over her or something, not just, I look like your mom, give me the cosmic key. And then she runs off like an idiot and does it. It's really one of my only complaints about the entire movie, honestly.
I'll remove the complaint for you.
It serves the
okay.
It serves.
Well, yeah, because she says to her, "No, we pretended it out because we were doing super secret work." So
right,
I had to hide this from you. So like,
super secret work.
A plane crash. They probably wouldn't have shown her the bodies because they would have been too mangled. She probably wouldn't have seen the bodies. They would have buried them, and then that gives Evelyn an out to say, "Hey, we had to disappear. We were doing secret work. You know, and there's a lot going on at the same time. And she was just attacked. She's a kid. It's just very fast. Like, oh, get us that thing. Okay, mom. Like, I think it was done very quickly. Like, and Evelyn,
I think it's a little too quick. I think because we know what Evelyn's capable of, I guess more or less from the cartoon, let her be that sorceress for a moment. Yeah. Let her do her thing. But I mean, if that's the smallest thing I pick apart on this, because I'm fine with everything else. I do. Like Owen said, I love it. You know, whenever she tries to save her parents from getting on the plane, then you don't realize they got sent back early. Like, I love that little bit they add to it. I love when she runs into He-Man, you know, whenever they first arrive down there, and she's scared, but to me, like, that fear disappears. Like, there's this aura of He-Man with Dolph standing there. She's like
Superman.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, I feel safe for some reason and I can't explain it, but this is the dude I need to stay near. And it's, to me, that's just the essence of He-Man, that pure goodness that he has. And I mean, Dolph pulls it off in this. Frank Langella should be Skeletor forever, period. You know, that is my Skeletor. You know, I love my Skeletor from the cartoon, but to hear Skeletor being scary with a deeper voice, with more menace behind him, and he kills freaking Sauron, one of the cooler villains. Dude's just gone. Blade will always be my favorite, flat out. That is my dude. And one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they capture everyone. Blade is carrying around the Sword of Power like a trophy, showing everyone. And all I think is, I can't remember the guy's name, but the actor is just actually hyped that he's carrying. I'm carrying He-Man's sword, guys. You see this? And they filmed it. He didn't know. But no, I love this. There's so much story to this. Like, if you ever watch like the Canon documentary or the Toys That Made Us, kind of, I think, and then the stuff like that dig into the history. The final battle, when they go, let this be our final battle, and the lights go out, that's where Canon wanted the movie to end.
Yeah,
that's why it stopped. They literally stopped production. And what was it, J-Man? Like 2 hours they started tearing down the set.
Yeah, they're like, we're done. And then Gary Goddard had to literally beg, do whatever favors he had to do. He's like, please, like, we need. And Frank Langella had practiced this super elaborate mega sword fight. It was going to be Mark Azzaro, move over. We're going to beat the, like all this. And it's like, he's like, didn't do shit. I don't even, it's the stunt guy or someone else.
I don't remember if it's the stunt guy or if it's actually Blade.
It could be Blade, because he is the guy. Well, he was the sword guy.
He was the swordsman. So I'm pretty sure it's Blade. So they had to get Dolph and him dressed as Skeletor. That's why there's no one around. That's why it's dark around them. And do the final scene, and then basically Palpatine his ass down the hole, because he was supposed to go out the window, out into space.
Yeah,
this whole elaborate ending, and Canon went, "Nah, fam, we ain't doing it." And it's the most like, I kind of expect that from Cameron, but you're also like, Jesus Christ, guys, was it that bad? Like, seriously, was it that bad? But that's how we got the ending to the way it is. That's why it feels slightly odd. It's very rushed. They did like the whole thing where they sent them back to Earth and all this. So it's like, were you guys gonna just throw that in somewhere else? What like, was it gonna go to black and then the happy ending? Like, what was your thought process? Because you filmed one before the other. It's so weird. No one older now watching a Canon film, you're just like, yeah, that tracks. I can see that.
But that made it more intimate, though. Like, how I see, So I forgot about that, because you bringing that up. I just remembered that. But it made it more intimate with just them two when it turned to black, and they were the only ones that existed at that moment when they were fighting each other. I thought
it's like a magical battle or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I was kicking.
I thought I liked it. I thought, okay, well,
that's what we got. It's definitely
it's like Captain America. They ran out of money making that movie, so it's like Albert Pune was just like. What else can I do like for $5?
It's literally what I don't even remember how. I don't think they gave him hardly any money. They had to beg people to come back, especially to do the Skeletor makeup on the guy, and just squeezing like Dolph back. Like, it was almost a month or two. What's up, guys? It was like a month or two later they filmed that scene. Like they literally were like, we're done, and we're on to the next project. So I'll leave the rest for J-Man, but that's me and my little bit of tidbit.
Actually, just before J-Man started, I just got to remember one thing I wanted to mention before I forget. I love the hoverboard things. Like, yeah, the effects might not be amazing for it, but just the idea. And as a kid, you're watching it, and I'm like, that's He-Man on a hoverboard. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It was when he jumped on the one himself. They're like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, that was so cool. And he's like, and then he uses the grappling hook thing to get the key and everything. I was like, that's awesome. And then Skeletor Centurions look cool. But I also love the scene whenever Skeletor arrives on Earth and he's just going the music with the ship coming in. I was like, this is so cool. And even just watching it now, I'm just like, I'm 8 years old again. You know?
Well, when you said that, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I love when He-Man jumps on the disc and the disc is like to keep his weight up. It's like,
like, wow, this dude's heavy. No, I wanted to. Didn't you say there was a comment before we started that talked about the gym scene?
That's right. Yeah. Apologies to. I think your name was Michael. I found out that YouTube apparently like deletes comments before something goes live, which is bizarre. But anyway, he had mentioned that. The scene in the school whenever Courtney Cox is being chased by like Beastman and all the bad guys scared the crap out of him as a kid, and it did with me as well. I remember finding all the monsters scary. I mean, watching them now, you know, you're just sort of smiling along with it and loving it. But at the time, I remember being freaked out as well. And
what's that? They can do it super close up of Beastman because she's crawling through the that just like that. I was 8 years old watching this. That definitely got my attention. You know, you're like, holy shit, this guy's insane looking. You know, it's not my, orange beast man that gets knocked down and hit with rocks in the cartoon all the time.
Yeah, that's right. Highlander 2.
Yeah, they did.
Highlander 2.
Yeah, every movie needs hoverboards in it. Really. So, right, Jay, go for it. You have the con, Jay.
I mean, like, what am I going to, like, I love everything that happens in this movie. I was thinking, like, with Skeletor, I would never say that, is he, better than, Emperor or Darth. But like, he's definitely up there for me. I love Skeletor in this movie. I like the fact that they just made it serious. I love the He-Man cartoon. It's my childhood favorite. I did not see this in the theater for punishment.
For shit.
That's me not even going. Damn.
That was the worst. We were all set to go. And I did very unlike He-Man things. It's warranted. And please, I'll never do it again. Blah blah blah. She's like, my mom's like, nope. And so I saw it when it came out for rental. I'd watched it 100 times before I realized that Skeletor comes back at the end credits. It was the first time I'd seen a post-credit scene. And I remember leaving the VHS running because we were doing other stuff, listening to the music, and then it's like, Skeletor's back in this. What the heck? But I think, like, everything everyone has said, there's no Battle Cat, there's no Orko. I chalked it up as a kid too. I guess they just can't do Orko. How they gonna do Battle Cat? I figured that because this movie starts in the end of a battle where Skeletor has won, He-Man or Adam had already transformed to He-Man earlier on. The Randor, Marlena are like in seclusion, or like I created a story. This was a very smart thing to do because they didn't have the budget. And I think they knew that we're going to be smart enough to piece together our own backstory. It'd be great if we had someone right now went back and filmed 15 minutes, make this like a 2-hour movie and have 15 minutes of the battle, somehow make it look like it was from then and have them hide the king and queen. And wouldn't that would just be, and like Battle Cat, guard my father, don't leave my father's side, like, that would be sick, right? Like if someone would do that, and then it would literally fit Orko, protect the queen, Battle Cat, old friend, you've got to stay here and protect. He's like, yes, Adam, I will protect your parents. And then it's like, then he goes and then the rest of the movie, you could literally just do it in 10 minutes. Where's the internet guy? Where's that Superman 4 guy when you need him? You could easily fit. And then if they did that, that would literally fix everything, because then the rest of the movie could just play normally. I don't know. Like, I get emotionally invested in this big time. I love the stuff with Courtney. I love there's only one of you, Kevin. He's like, look, man, I'm just a lousy keyboard player in a high school band. There's a million of them. He's like, no, Kevin, there's only one of you. I love that entire scene. everything that they do in this movie actually makes sense. Like, it's like Skeletor is like, well, I just want He-Man. I got the sword. I got He-Man. He gives up. He's like, I don't want innocent people to die. That's it. So that could be the end. But the problem is that he hits Courtney Cox. He hits Julie. So now Julie's dying. Only the sorceress magic can save her. So now again, the pacing is super killer. While John was talking about it being on Earth, I was also disappointed. Oh, it's on Earth. But in retrospect, whenever I watch this, I don't mind it because they come on Earth and action happens. As an example, Owen, I don't know if you remember this conversation, but this is an older conversation that we had about Thor, where the Thor film literally used this formula where Thor is in Asgard and then it goes to Earth. You're like, well, now he's on Earth meandering around. Right. Chris Hemsworth comes to Earth and does nothing and makes googly eyes with Jane Foster. This one, it's still action. It, like when Sean said, the battle continues to Earth. It actually does continue to Earth. They don't just go to Earth and now it's a break from the action. It's immediately back. Oh, we lost the key. And you're like, oh shit, because it came in just on the tail end of that portal closing. So it's close because it didn't teleport exactly with them, but it's around somewhere. So now we got to find the key. Shit, we got to find that key. There's a lot of cool stuff. Somebody sat down and made up all these terms. Like it's a whatever till moonrise, whatever chromons, whatever, sector. Like they came up with all these words. Good journey. They made up their own slogan to say, it's like, yeah, good journey. That the journey continues. And they don't just say it. It's like, oh, life is a journey. You continue from one destination to another. Good journey. You're like, oh, that's cool. Like somebody wrote this. They took this property, and F anyone who says this movie sucks, because they took this property and really thought through a lot of stuff on this movie. They didn't just make the movie. This was a labor of love, and it's very appreciated. I appreciate it. I think I kind of like this world almost better than really the cartoon, because as a kid, I love Skeletor. I'm like, oh, he always loses, and he's so jokey and stupid. And you start to, as you grow up, you're like, I love Skeletor. I love He-Man. But you're like, oh, this Skeletor is like, oh, hell yes. It's like, Grayskull is ours. No, mine. Right. And then it's like, the power of Grayskull has not yet passed you. It's like sorceress. It's like, oh, I've got you. He's got it all. And he wants more. It's like, I must possess all or I possess nothing. Everything he says is a great line. Well, we didn't get very many characters. Well, we got He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Teela, Beastman, Sorceress, Skeletor, Evil-Lyn. Sounds pretty good. Let's look at other comic book movies. We didn't get shit from any of these other comic movies. You got like Captain America, and then they threw Falcon in for, it's like, okay, well, where's everybody? They threw a lot of characters in here. We got a lot of, and we got extra guys we didn't know about. And really, did you want to see Trapjaw get killed? You have failed me. You are all aware of the penalty for failure. You want Trapjaw to get killed? No, it's better to kill Zerad, because you're like, this guy's cool, but he's not a guy I care about, so whatever. And it's better that way, right? Get rid of guys that we don't care about. I don't want to see Trap. If it was Trapjaw, I'd be like, F this, right?
Yeah, walk out.
That's a Transformers moment. You just killed one of my favorite characters.
Yeah. Right.
Or 10 of my favorite characters. But
I just walked that off. Yeah. Okay, Skeletor having troopers, love it, because you don't want to waste a bunch of cool guys. Like, you don't want to see look, there's guys that I love, Clawful, Cobra Khan, but they're kind of whatever, right? I don't want to see them get beat up.
Yeah,
I like this idea.
Clawful's my boy.
Clawful's great. I like the troops, because then He-Man could swing his sword and kill them. I think there's a lot of He-Man moments. Basically, everything he does. They're like, okay, we got to get out of here. Go. And he's like, no, I won't leave her. And he's shooting. He's like, I'm not leaving the sorceress. F it. And they're like, He-Man, it's like, you must leave. Eternity needs your life. That's a He-Man moment. Like saving Julie. She runs in. He's like, Julie, I got this. And he just destroys everybody. And Evelyn's like, let me see the scanner. She's like, outclassed. She's like, outnumbered, outclassed is more like, she's like, I see only He-Man. It's like, he's kicking the crap out of everybody. He does not go down. There's guys jumping on him. I love that Skeletor's like, yeah, I gotta see this continue. He's not even saying stop. He wants to see, like, is He-Man gonna actually try to still? And once he starts fighting back, the others get inspired to start fighting back. It's like, you guys are surrounded. It's over. And He-Man's like, He-Man's still going, F it, let's go. And then they start going. Man, everything that He-Man does is a He-Man moment, because he is always on. Like, Dolph Lundgren doesn't stop. Everything he says, it's like, I don't want innocent people to die. It's like that speech with the friends, like when he's there, where are your friends now, and all that. That is awesome. Skeletor becomes a god, and he still seeks He-Man's approval. it's genius. It's like, I'm more than you. I'm better than you now. It's like, Neil. It's like, no. And you're like, and he's like, no, Neil. And he won't kill him. He can just kill him. He won't. He needs his acceptance. It's a flaw. This is the flaw of Skeletor. He needs He-Man to kneel to finally break him. He says it. And she's like, look, you've got everything now. It's over. He's like, no, I want him broken.
It's Batman and the Joker again.
Yeah, it's like he's a martyr. I don't want to make him a martyr. I want him broken in front of me.
That's
like,
why he's projecting it over Eternia.
Yes,
that whole thing. I have to break him in front of the entire fucking planet.
And he won't.
It's all about him. It's all about defeating him.
He will. Right. He goes, he's always been between us.
Yep.
Guys, like everything that happens in this movie is effing awesome. Like I can't even think of one negative. Like even the sappies, it's like, oh, Kevin, and and all. I'm like, well, I like Kevin. Like he's like, Julie, I want it. Like, why don't you stay? Like stay here. It's like, well, I can't stay. Even her friends like, well, don't break up with him and all that. Mm-hmm. Kevin sticks up, and like the second he gets that collar off, he's like, Julie, and he goes to protect her. Yep. He can't win against anybody in there. He can't even be one of the troopers. He still tries to fight for her. That's cool.
Also,
I don't know.
I remember how awesome did that restaurant actually look? That fast food place. I want to go there. That looks amazing.
Oh, Robbie's Ribs.
The chicken.
Yeah,
the chicken.
That's why I threw that song up. That "Living in a Box." It's like you just hear that "Living in a Box," "Living in a cargo." You hear that playing in the background. You're like, "What is going on with this guy's?"
You mean this used to be alive? Yeah, we had to eat all kinds of weird stuff.
So great. That's great too.
Well, and they make Kevin important too because he has to come up with the tune because he heard it.
He's a musician.
Yes, he's a song master. It works. It works.
Right. Look, we need human. Look, this is a movie thing. It's going to be on Earth. That's a movie thing. Even as a kid, I realized that. And then you've got your human characters, and they're always garbage or non-essential. First time ever. Julie knows where the thing is. Kevin's got the thing, and he has a purpose. He actually has a purpose, and her parents dying makes her vulnerable to an evil and exploits that. They actually made the human characters that actually matter in the story, and you actually care about them too. I don't know. Like I think Gwildor's cool. I love that he's like, I would never willingly serve the Lord of Snake Mountain.
I love this comment.
Yes, Lubick, dude, because you're sitting there, you're like, well, of course I'd stay too. This movie has something to offer for every age. Because when you get to the age where you realize Lubick is awesome, because when you're a kid, you're like, oh, Lubick's so mean and right? But then he's got a hero moment. Even this random guy, he doesn't need to be in the movie at all. He actually doesn't, but you're like, he has cool character moments. And he's shooting at things. He's like, I'm staying. I got a beautiful woman. I got clean air. And it's like, this is crazy. The guy's gonna stay, and he looks cool at the end. I don't know. Like
I don't have to pay taxes.
He doesn't have to pay taxes. Exactly. And then sending her back. Look, sending her back. Gwildor in his eyes. You see that he knows what he's gonna. He knows what he's gonna do.
He smirks. Yeah,
he smirks. He's like, "Oh, I know what you really want." She's like, "No, wait, send me back," and then he sends her back.
He's like, "I'm already doing it."
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He's like, "I got you, Julie. I know what you need." I don't know. I've got pages of notes. Like,
and that's a special moment between them two. It's although she'll never see him again, but
who knows?
She's holding the snow globe, but the crystal.
Yeah,
was it all a dream?
If there was
a
sequel that was planned, maybe they would have returned. Yes.
Thank God they didn't do like a Wizard of Oz where it's like maybe it didn't happen. Well, we know it did because in the beginning we saw the fight before they got there, but like I don't know. I like all that part. Like she saves the parents. That's cool. Why not? Like have a happy ending. It's He-Man for Christ's sakes. Like what do you want? And they build up to I have the power because you're like, oh man, like
that's when are we gonna get scene, man. That was my scene.
We were all waiting for it. You just like
and how it
he's
just
already He-Man.
And
he's like he's already He-Man, and even at the end, he's still technically He-Man, but then he actually harnesses the power. And then he just transforms. I mean, it's one of my. I could watch that scene over and over. And over.
And then he pulls the sword out, and then he does this with it. And I'm just like, that's the fucking hero moment right there. I'm like,
and he breaks that thing. It's like he puts in that thing. He's like, I'll break it out. But Sorceress is cool too. Like I like how she's like, Eternia needs your life, He-Man, and all. And it's like she's kind of trapped. And that's Monica's mom from from Friends, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so. So
that's cool.
Oh, a little connection there.
Yeah, that's kind of a random. Where are your friends? They're right there. She's.
I love her too for a character that didn't get to do a whole lot. She's got that that beautiful aura to her at the beginning, and then you're seeing the power being drained from her as the movie goes. Exactly, she's aged out, and then towards the end, she's back to who she needs to be. Like J-Man nailed it, dude. It's thought out more than anyone gives it credit for. Flat out, like this was, even though it had a lot of headaches, like this thing had so many stops and starts during production. Like Goddard was like, I don't want to do this anymore, but they finally just got it through. But even through all that, we got this movie, which I still think is a triumph in itself. But damn it, man, I love this movie.
Yes,
this movie.
Look, Frank Langella, holy crap! From the first second he starts with doom, and he's going, and the Havoc stuff is sick, and it's like
kills it.
He just kills it, and Evelyn is sick too. I love when that intimate moment together, where she's like, the people cry out for He-Man, and he's like, oh, it's like. He goes, they must see. He goes, you are you're the one. He goes, I count on you for these things. She's like, but they wait for He-Man. He'll lead them. It's like, oh, I want him broken. And it's like, and then Evelyn, I love how she stands up for the mercenaries. And then check this out. This never effing happens. She stood up for the mercenaries. He's like, go, then take whatever resources you need and go. And she's like, I was not suggesting that I go. Well, then you should not have spoken. But she goes, and she succeeds. She does get the key. She does win. She actually, when she showed up, she does win. But then it's not even a loss for He-Man, because then he's like, okay, you got the key. Well, they'll give me that thing. That's it. F this. It's time for action. Jumps on that shit. Gets it. She's like, no. And when she talks to Skeletor, she's like, oh my Lord. She's trying to pat this out and make it sound like we have the keys. Like, where's He-Man? Yeah, we didn't get him. He's like, okay. He just cuts her off. Like, yeah, whatever. It's like, I don't care what your accomplishments were.
That's still a failure in my book.
It's a fit.
That's exactly it.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. And Mobius, was it Mobius who did the designs on? Wow, this guy, he designed the Dune characters that never got made, the Jodorowsky Dune characters, which are all bloody awesome. And this design work is pretty spectacular. It is New Gods inspired. Obviously, you can see that. Those discs are Mr. Miracle's discs.
It's straight up out of DC Comics. Even I knew that as a kid. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. Like, who was it? William Stout then who did it, not Mobius?
Mobius did character designs for a lot of these guys. His character design of He-Man is the figure, basically. The cross bangle and everything, and the thing in the middle. They didn't go with that, but he designed like that big ship he's in, like Skeletor's in. And it looks like a Mobius design anyway.
Yeah, Jabba's sail barge.
Sail barge.
With a big propeller in the back.
Yeah.
Even I want to say too, even like the like, look, when Blade is there, he's like, I've waited a long time for this. And you're like, each guy is kind of cool in his own way that he's doing something. Like Beastman's begging for forgiveness and all that, and he's like, get away from me, and
when he begs for. That was awesome.
I remember
he got a freaking hook hand, to be like, I always took that as, well, we can't have Trap Jaw, so let's give Karg a hook, so it's like, give it a little bit of, something to him.
And like going back to Frank Langella, like we can't give him enough love on this, because like I said, he's up there with Darth Vader. But it's just, and the writing too. Like when he sees He-Man, he's like, tell me about the loneliness of good, He-Man. Is it equal to the loneliness of evil? And you're just like, that's deep right there.
It's Shakespearean, man.
It is.
And
I mean, come on.
It's like Shakespearean and cold at the same time.
And it pisses me off that that 90% of the population watches this movie and says, this is the biggest pile of shit I've ever seen in my life, because they just don't get it. I'm watching it right now, and He-Man's on the pod. Here's perfect, man. The wind's blowing. It's like, no. that's some good hair right now, because that shit's not moving. It's like
Mullet He-Man is the best, man.
It is. I agree.
And he's like there. He's got the gun. He's like, it's like, he's like, yeah. I'm like, I want to get on one of those things, man. And like I said, you can't beat the music store battle. Like when all the guards come crashing through the window and like lasers just start flying.
You're Charlie though, the guy who owns the business.
Yes, Charlie.
He's like, I hope he was insured. He must be, because he didn't seem too worried about it. He was just like, man, it's like
even in that battle. even in that battle, character moments. It's like, you think they don't like us? Yeah, I get that impression. Like they're talking to each other and having a fight, and then she comes in. She's like, "Guys, need a woman's touch out here."
Yeah, it's
like,
just so cool about
cool.
it.
Like they're together. They hug each other. They love each other. They work together. Like there's no looking down at the material. Sean says this all the time. This arm's length, this distancing myself.
You're embarrassed by it.
I'm embarrassed, by it's like, no, I'm making Skeletor, and not only am I going to make Skeletor, he's going to be effing awesome. Okay, well, what about He-Man? He's going to be effing awesome. And like when Man at Arms is like, listen, boy, in half a Chromon or whatever, we're not going to have a sorceress to go home to. So if you know how to do something with that thing, then you do it. And he's like so serious. You're like, I'm getting pumped. Like I'm getting friggin' emotional for this guy.
Do it.
That's motivation.
I know.
His line read is so good.
It's so
good.
He's like, he's like, no pressure.
Yeah.
No
Like
pressure. But if you F this up, shit's over.
Yeah.
It's like, just gotta say.
Like the performances are all good. That's the thing, is that nobody plays it like they're looking down their nose at it. Everyone plays it seriously, and like you're watching it, and I was expecting to watch it because I hadn't watched it for a few years, and when I watched it yesterday, and I was like, oh, it'll be funny watching this now. And like at no point was I like, this fucking sucks, which sometimes you get. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, this movie's still awesome. Like I still love it as much as I did when I was a kid. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, you got a good story, you got good characters, you got surprisingly strong performances from everybody. I love Meg Foster's Evil in this. Was perfect bit of casting, just the eyes and everything. Just
Her
the outfit.
eyes, dude. Her eyes and everything she's ever done. My
Oh,
God,
she's so good. I just want to go through some of these
comments. Yeah, we're a bit behind.
Yeah. Masters basically debuted with 3 separate backstories, mini comics, the DC comics, and the animated series.
Yes.
And an unofficial fourth being whatever the toys conjured in a child's imagination.
so many storylines, man, played out in the backyard and in my room, dude. That's
Well, Langella did it for his
original.
kid too. His kid was a huge Master Universe fan, so he was so proud of that movie because one, it was like something his kid could watch. And he threw himself into the role. He's like, my child loves this property, so I am going to do this. I'm going to treat this as like I'm going for an Oscar,
Absolutely.
And it's like that's exactly what he did.
And he doesn't undersell himself, but he also doesn't overact it either.
Yeah,
he doesn't get.
It's perfect. It's just the right amount.
That's a good actor. I mean, he just does.
You can easily ham it up, and he doesn't. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
He could have gone, well, let me watch the cartoon. Let me see what my character's based off of, and been like, I can't do that. I could have been like,
The perfect example is like he plays it like Ian McDiarmid played the Emperor in Return of the Jedi, as opposed to how Ian McDiarmid played the Emperor in Revenge of the Sith, like. He's sort of scary in Return of the Jedi and evil, but like in Revenge of the Sith, he's just cackling maniacally and just so over the top that like, and it was a stupid voice change whenever he's transforming and everything. I remember laughing in the cinema at that, and we're like, what's happening? Has he got gas?
Well, the Emperor in Return of the Jedi is a piece of garbage. I despised him so badly, and he's like, oh, I'm your friends. I'm well aware of your friends or whatever. And you're like, F you, buddy. It's like, screw you. And I was like, and Luke picks him. He's like, strike me down, and you're like, ugh. And I was like, what's F it? Strike him down. I'm done with this trash character. Kill this bastard. He's so good. You don't appreciate it as a kid. You watch back, like, wow, this guy's so good in this. Like,
two lightsabers a foot from his face, and he's laughing at him. He's cackling.
You want Luke to go to the dark side.
It's so good. Back onto the costumes, I do want to say, where they did change some things for the movie. Duncan's, if you look closely at him, other than the face covering, his outfit is his freaking from the show. Like he has all the pieces on his chest.
The best adaptation
he has his pauldron on. And I love what they did with Tila. I mean, obviously you're not going to have her running around half naked, which is what Tila was in the cartoon. It works. It's tactical. She's, a warrior.
She's a warrior.
I mean, it worked for me. Like I was nothing visually about this movie I was ever like, oh, this sucks. I don't like what they did. Hell, I don't even have a problem with Gwildor pimping out a pink Cadillac and they're running around in that thing. I'm like, where's that toy? I want that one. I'm taking my sister's little 57 Chevy for her Barbies and putting my He-Man in it, and we're cruising around just like in the movie, man. It still instilled fun and imagination for me as a kid, where I didn't have the movie line toys. That was I only had a handful. I don't think I got any of them, but I'm still trying to reenact what I saw in the movie with the toys, at like 9-10 years old. I don't know, man. This makes me feel like a kid. And like I said, it's a core. There's a He-Man piece of me, just like with J-Man. There's a He-Man piece of him that made us who we are. And, movie, cartoon, toys, all of it is together. I can't say enough good about it, man. I'm smiling. We're talking about some of these awesome parts, and man, I got goosebumps already, man. It just happens just thinking about this movie.
Listen, I was 15 years old when this movie came out, and I had the biggest crush on Chelsea Field, so I wouldn't have mind watching her run around half naked like the person.
I'm not saying we wouldn't have minded. I'm just saying it made sense,
But
I love her. I love her. I thought she was gorgeous. She wasn't like Heather Locklear gorgeous. She was girl next door gorgeous to me.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
And I want to point out too that at the end where they say, we need these components, and he's like, she's like, Kevin knows the tones. Can you send him home or can't you? And she's like, yeah, I think so. He's like, I need this and that, and then she says, oh, I've got one of those, and and they literally have had that the whole movie. They didn't just pull crap out where it's like, oh yeah, here it's like, I need a Ben Grimm figure. Here's one. It's like, well, how did you? When was that there? Right? Like,
where the hell did that come from?
Where did that come from? But she was. Oh, that's awesome. That's a great. Nada. But no, she pulls it out the thing, and he's like, oh, I've got one of those. Oh, I've got one of these Amptode rectifier or something. It's
whatever it was.
Like whatever it is. It's like I try. You can't memorize all the things, but someone came up with these.
It's like the villains. Evil Lynn is using that ray to look at what happened, hands it back to a guy. Then they get the collar. Like they're carrying all this cool shit with them. Like there's one dude back there with a backpack. He's like, hold on, I got that. He's like the accessory pack you used to get with these toys. It was just nothing but extra pieces. That's that dude in the background going, yeah, I've got one of those. Hold on a second. Let me get it out here. But it's that thought. It's that, how are we going to show? How are they going to know what happened? We can see it. Look, I can see what happened here. I can see, He-Man kicked your asses. I can now control. There's interference from a microwave. I haven't lost on the cosmic key. It's like, well, disable it. I can't disable it. Well, then destroy it then. And then it blows up the freaking microwave with the chicken in it. It's just so thought out fun, man.
I like where they put the collar on, and when the collar's on, you answer factually based on your actual, what you know and what the question is. Where she's like, who took it? A policeman. Where is he now? I don't know. Where is he now? I don't know where he is. Right. Then later, when the collar's off, they're like, well, where's it? Well, he said he was going to go there. And the thing is like, that gave them the one up because they got there first, because he didn't know where he was. She's like, where is he now? And I remember I scrutinized this movie a while back, like a few years ago. I remember, I'm thinking, was that a mistake? Because how did they know? Like, why didn't he tell her? But she didn't ask that. She's, where is he now? He's like, I don't know. Right? It's like, he said he's going to go down there, but he doesn't know that he went down there. So it's actually very clever. I don't know if that was just a clever accident, but it could have been a plot error, but it actually worked out because that gave them the upper hand to get there first ahead of Evil Lynn, because they're just tracking it, whereas they know where to go. And I love where it's like, can we help them out? Yes, no. It's like she's saying yes, of course, and he's like, no. It's like, she's like, Julie, these things come in here so to beat the crap out of me,
right?
But when he stabs down to Blade, when he's like, she's mine, and like Blade does everything in a cool way. Like it's like. He doesn't just walk around like swing. It's like you're like, okay, you didn't need to do all that cool shit. It's like everything he does is like a cool move, and he's like shoots stuff. It's like, oh, and he's
having the most fun in this movie.
Big time.
Yeah. Period. Like everyone's doing a great job. Blade's having fun.
Yeah.
Out.
He's like, this is a waste of energy, but it looks freaking cool. So I'm going to do this right now. So He-Man counter this. And it's like He-Man, like I said, He-Man he's just like doing like this. And Blade's like, he's like, it's just.
You feel like Blade has more of a backstory than some of the other ones because he does all of that. Like when he faces off with He-Man again, you're like, okay, these guys have faced off before. And he's just, it's like one swordsman to another, it's like a little bit of respect, but he's also like, I'm going to beat you this time finally, and that Blade has that more than even Karg does. Like Karg, you kind of take as the leader, but what does Karg actually do? Like, I get what Owen says. He's not the greatest looking character, but it was interesting enough. He's kind of the 80s glam metal, with the hair and everything kicked back. He was with Whitesnake before the movie took off.
Right.
I was going to say that they used Blade's line in the toy commercials for the toys for the movie, where it's like, I've been waiting a long time for this, and then he squares off with He-Man. And I thought, like, just that sold me on the character. I was like, oh, this guy's awesome, like he's got a thing with He-Man and stuff.
Yeah, he's been waiting.
There's a history there, and it worked so well.
You just wanted them to fight again, like sometime during, like towards the end of the movie, like have another alter.
Yeah, they got rid of Blade kind of fast, But I mean, there's a lot that again they're trying to get down to the end of the movie. They're running out of money. Yeah. They probably had run out of money by that point. Yeah.
And so we have one more day to shoot this.
Blade, you're gonna fall off the bridge. I don't get stabbed. No, you're just gonna fall. You're just gone. I think that's how Blade dies. I do believe he falls off the bridge.
We're gonna hype you up. We're gonna hype you up, and then we're just gonna be like, fuck it. It's like
you're done.
Even I gotta say, even Charlie. I mean, not this Charlie, but in the movie Charlie. He's funny because he's like, I've seen this before. It's Japanese. He's like, oh no. And then he's like, wait a minute, can you want to sell? You want to sell that? And then he's like talking about Invasion of the Body Snatchers back in the back room. It's like that character doesn't need to be a fun character, but he's got lines like, remember, he goes, this reminds me of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, when you can't tell who the pods are. You're like, what is going on here? And he's a funny character too. What else was I going to look? I was trying to go through my notes. I love that Kevin, when he answers the phone, he immediately is like, I'm worried about Julie because he's like, oh shit, this guy's going to think something's up. I've got to play this up that Julie's still missing, right?
Yeah.
But then he immediately just subconsciously goes back to not being as worried because he's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to heat up some food. And you're like, well, now you don't seem as anxious. It's like, because deep down he knows that she's okay. And then, because he's just got the call from her, but he still has to kind of pretend a little bit too. So
right.
He did good there.
You had that good little bit between him and Lubbock. I mean, Lubbock's being the hard ass that he has to be. He knows something's up. He knows he's not getting the whole story, but that you needed that little bit more with Kevin, because otherwise Kevin's just wandering around this set, without having anything to do until he gets teamed back up, with He-Man and all of them. And then, he even tries to save Julie from them. They're like, no, they're my friends. It's okay. It's totally fine.
Can I just say so? I'm watching the movie again. Like I said, it's on in the background, and Blade's whipping He-Man. It's almost like erotic for Skeletor. Did you see his reaction when he gets whipped? He's like,
he's not like, watch it real close. He's not really paying attention, and every time He-Man gets whipped, he is reacting to the pain. He respects this level of Skeletor, respects He-Man. But that's why he has to destroy the idea of He-Man in this movie. But that's one of my favorite scenes, John, is just whenever it's like he's wincing in pain even more than He-Man is, watching this great warrior he has fought for eons, whatever you want to call it, in Eternia. But he's now watching him being, belittled or, whipped basically. And he doesn't like it, but he knows this what has to be done. I have to break him in front of everyone.
I like Sorceress, where she's like, men look upon the failures of their lives, pile them all together, and call it destiny. That was awesome. Like she's got cool lines too. And he goes, thank you for that bit of philosophy, Sorceress. Here is my response. He's got the swords of your champion, the sword of power. Mine now and for, and then
he casually like he's just like, I've got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Drops it in like normally, like in the cartoon, like Skeletor would be winging that thing around his head like Blade was. He'd be like, I got the sword, you boob. But this one is like, I have it. Boom. I'm sorry.
Well, it's like a homage. It's a homage to the Sword of Stone. It's like he's King Arthur pulling the sword.
It does have a bit of that where it's locked in there. I'm sure, like, if someone tried to go up there and grab it, it's like Skeletor's magic is locked it into there. And that's why when He-Man lifts it, it's that power of Grayskull coming through him, and he's able to break it free. So there's so much, like J-Man said, there's so much more they could have just added a tiny little bit of depth. You know, this is one of the rare times we're sitting here going, yeah, 2-hour movie. Yeah, let's make this 2 hours, and I would be happy with this. I'm happy with it now, but just give me a little bit more depth.
Yeah, maybe you guys know more about this, but I remember reading about this in several magazines. They cut out a scene where they over-explain Castle Grayskull by saying that there's a piece of NASA shuttle or something inside it, and it has something to do with a time warp, and they're all descendants of humanity or some bull crap like that. I'm glad all that's not in there.
Yeah, that's definitely awful. Yeah, that's the kind of thing they would do today.
Yeah, they would definitely. So that whole little storyline was only basically because there was at some point where they tried to make Queen Marlene human. She is human. She married Randor. She is
in the cartoon.
She is in the cartoon.
Yeah. So they were trying to give a reason why even the cosmic key took them to Earth. Like, how would it even know that's a destination to go to?
I love that it's random.
Yeah,
I do love that it's random.
And he's punching the keys at random. It's like, if we monitor their frequency, wherever they are, they'll use it again. You know, like, this is so good.
Yeah. And it also goes, it has a memory. So it's not like it was reliant on Gwildor remembering. Right. The key itself was supposed to have a memory, and it gets reset.
Yes.
I think it actually gets reset by Kevin because he's
pressing all these buttons and hitting that.
He makes it do the light show to him, and what sends the signal. And now Kevin has to be the one, because he heard it, has to be the one to remember the tone to put back into it.
So look at this. Somebody thought this through with the functionality. This is how the key works. You compute the destination, you hit the red button, it opens the gateway. If you're just punching things at random, and that random punching of things doesn't open a gateway, nothing happens, just some light happens, and that's it.
Right.
So wherever you were last, you can get back to if you remember that tone that it first played. Now, Gwildor has been experimenting with this key and has played 4 trillion tones. He punched the keys at random, happened to get a planet, and he doesn't remember that tone. So the first tone played when you first hit it is the last one where you were. So Kevin, because the music guy, remembers all this. Look, someone sat here and thought this key out. What movie? No, they can't even figure out the Infinity Stones. And I love that. I like Infinity War. What the hell do they do? Like, name any of them. What does any of them actually do in any of these Marvel movies? And I'm not saying this is better than any Marvel movie, even though I am saying it is better. Like,
they've been relegated to paperweights now.
Right. Well, oh God. Well, I don't want to start that. But I'm not at this late in the game.
that's kind of where they don't give a shit about anything they create in this.
Right.
You know, this one is and honestly, they're looking at it going, well, how does a phone work? Yeah, we can dial back the last number we dialed, right? So we can make that into the cosmic key. Yeah, we can do that, right? Yeah, it works. It's fine. Wherever you got your inspiration from. But like you said, they thought it through. It just wasn't they weren't relying on Gwildor to know all of these, because it's not the Stargate, where you got to find all the symbols from that planet, and that's what's going to give you the answer. It's there. And now you needed the last person to hear the tone play. He just happened to be a musician. Story armor. It works. Yeah.
I do like some of the lines where they say, it's like, let's start with you, Blondie. He calls him Blondie. That's hilarious.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love where she's like, oh, we got to turn this into the caretaker. It's like, what? He's going to keep this for himself. And I'm like, buddy, Kevin, you're right. If I'm the caretaker and you turn that shit in, I'm keeping it. I'm not going to find out who's saying this. And Kevin's like, he's going to keep it for himself. I was like, Kevin is right. I agree with that. Yep. The other thing I would say is there's a sense of urgency throughout the entire picture. Every time there's continuous sense of urgency. It's like everyone is always in the middle of doing some action to push the story forward. It's like Skeletor's already taking over Grayskull. You'd be like, this feels like this is the end of the movie. What's going on here? Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is the start. Oh, okay. And then it's like, we got to take Grayskull back. We have to do it before Moonrise because Skeletor's going to get all the powers. But now we lost the key. Shit. Okay. But now the sorcerer's also trapped. And then even the bad guys have a sense of urgency because Skeletor's like, we need He-Man back here because he's got that other key. So we got to find it fast before he figures out how to get her out of here and come back. So Skeletor, every single person doing something has to get it done. And even Julie is like, look, I got to get on a plane to leave. So even she has a sense of, we've got to hurry this up because I'm going to leave. Yeah. And I mean, there's the pacing on this is rapid fire. And my wife watched, I showed this to my niece and nephew last year, and my wife watched it with me, and she's like, hey, this is pretty good. And I think she thought, oh, this will be goofy, because she watched He-Man as a little girl in India. They got He-Man in India, which is weird. They got Star Trek, Spider-Man 66 or 67 or whatever, and He-Man. Those are the cartoons that she watched. But she was like, oh, He-Man was a bit, it's a bit goofy, right? And I'm like, well, I said, this movie's pretty good. And I thought she might think it's goofy. She was like, this was really cool. She got pumped up for it. So yeah, I think it still works. And like, anyone watching it now who likes these kinds of movies, I don't think it's so bad it's good or it's cheesy but fun. I think it's actually good. I don't think it's silly. They did everything seriously. It's way better than like a lot or all of, well, I think it's better than all the Marvel movies, to be honest with you. But in any case, I mean, Winter Soldier's pretty epic. And but yeah, go ahead.
Is it better than Madam Web?
This stream is better than Madam Web.
Listen,
I agree with that.
This finale is on right now, and this is how you build a hero moment. I'm just watching this, and like this is just like how it's like a story in itself, and like he breaks the chains and he starts using it on them, and then every time Skeletor goes to shoot at him, it's one of his own guys. And like, I can't hear the music right now because I have it turned down, obviously, but it's like the pumping of the music, and he's trying to get to the sword, and it's just, I get goosebumps. Like, I got goosebumps right now, and I'm watching it with those sounds.
Charlie, what is the kill count for this? Because I remember there was a guy who compiled it, and the problem is at the end, He-Man's pushing dudes off that platform,
There's guys dying
there's
everywhere.
There's got to be a dozen of them.
They're robots. They're drones.
I guess.
They are robots. I think they count Sauron, Blade, Karg.
I don't think his name's Sauron. That's the guy from Lord of the Rings. This is Sauron.
Saurod.
Yeah.
It has a D at the end. I have a different accent than you guys in Canada. So Saurod, Blade.
It's a boot. Respect.
It's a boot.
This is a boot.
Karg. Skeletor comes back, so you can't really count.
They don't
him.
count the soldiers.
Yeah.
Like they don't count.
They're robots, unless somebody wants to count all
Are
of
they
the
really
robots. Yeah, they're robots.
Okay.
So when Mattel optioned this and Canon took it, they could not kill anyone at all. They had to be careful about the amount of violence and things like that. By the time this was about 3/4 of the way done, Mattel was hemorrhaging out just as much money as Canon was. Mattel literally said, look, I don't care what you do, make it rated R, kill everyone, get this movie out in theaters, because they need to sell toys. Like, that's their whole marketing. Until these characters, they can't put out He-Man the movie toys without a movie. That's not how the marketing worked for kids back then. We needed to see it. Otherwise, we're like, who is this? I have no connection to this character. So Mattel was like, kill everyone, we don't care. But they had talked to them about, what if we make all of the troopers robots? And they're like, okay, we're fine with robots, because they treated it more like the Horde troopers.
Yeah.
Whenever they brought the Princess of Power cartoon stuff in, so it was like, okay, that's fine. It's not like stormtroopers where you're killing just random dudes wearing masks.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have a very high body count. There are a lot of things get destroyed and blown up, but I really think it's only like at most 4. I do believe some humans get, I think one human gets disintegrated in this at some point in one of the fights. They mess up the gym coach pretty bad. He's loaded up in an ambulance.
Yeah, he's beat up pretty good.
Yeah. Surprised it didn't just off him. Yeah.
I also like when they get to the castle, like when they hit the key, like only the front end of the car comes back with them. Like,
I love that.
The car, only the front parts.
Just the front half.
In your podcast, you're like, oh, they got it. They teleported a playset or somebody's. I don't know who said it. Somebody said that. I don't remember.
Somebody teleported.
It
looks like they were planning a playset, and they're like, seriously, you don't put a car in the movie unless you're like, we're gonna make that into a toy. Like, everyone needed a car. This movie a boot. Look at him. He looks like he's doing intense research. He's making memes as we talk. And we go. Yeah, I mean, I covered this one for my birthday last year, man, because that's how important this movie was to me. Yeah, to quite operational when your friends arrive. That's exactly the line.
I'm afraid the deflector shoe will be quite
What a douche.
operational when your friends
I
arrive.
was gonna say in the Art of He-Man book, they have script pages, and it's hilarious because it's like the most violent script pages is it's like Skeletor decapitates a dude and like shoves the skull into a vat of acid or something. And there's like notes like no decapitations, no vat of acid. And it's like hilarious. It
was probably the first script they sent Mattel, and Mattel's like, "Oh, shit, what did we do? Who
didn't even want to cut anybody. They didn't even want to use the sword. They're like, well, in the cartoon, he just punches people. Like, well, why does he have a sword then?
Because
it's why they gave him the laser rifle, was so he didn't need to use his sword as much in the movie. A sword fight is different than him slicing and hacking through people, you know. So I never had an issue with the laser sword because hell, when I played He-Man, he had any weapon I could steal from a bad guy and put in his hand.
Absolutely.
You know, I didn't care. There's so many mismatched parts on my original He-Man figures. Nobody was who they were from the beginning when I opened them. But no, it's just it's hard to explain to people that just don't get it on the impact this character, not even just this movie, just this character has. And it's crazy. These are just thought up by 30 and 40-year-old dudes back in the 70s and early 80s. They're like, this sounds kind of cool. Let's just make it. And now it's literally a core part of an entire generation. You know, that's what they remember from their childhood the most, even down to G.I. Joe and shit like that, which was competing with this. You know, some dudes just sat there and thought up character guys and made cartoons, and we all sat there and like little mice to the pellet bar going, more, give me more, I want more right now. You know, this was our crack back in the day.
Yeah, I remember watching the cartoon as a kid, and I think my mom was talking to some tax lawyer person for our income taxes or something. And I was just sitting there like mesmerized, and my dad came over when the show was done, and he went like this. I remember this distinctly, and I was like, huh? Like I was totally mesmerized by this show. It was awesome, and it was calculated to appeal to kids. It was back in the day when they understood what kids programming was. Nowadays, things are too snarky and smarmy and cynical. But back then, I could totally get into the characters and what they're doing and like their fight for justice. I understood it. All the fantastical stuff was great, you know. And it's we never really had another big franchise like that after, say, Power Rangers. And
Power Rangers was probably the last big one.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, that count, you know. Ninja Turtles has kept going, but I think it's lost a lot of its heart that it had with the original. But I mean, it just, even the cartoons, like the last Nickelodeon couple of reboots they've had of it, it never had the heart that the original did. And you know, the closest He-Man ever got to being cool again was 200X. You know, whenever they did it back into the 2000s, and really, it's not that all that different from the Filmation. It was just better looking animation. They just looked cooler. Yeah. They got a bunch of those figures up there.
Four Horsemen, man.
I think I've got them. I've got almost all of those figures too. Yeah.
I even have some of the Four Horsemen statues. I've got Snout,
the Staction figures.
Staction figures.
The Stactions. And I've got Owen's favorite, Clawful.
Clawful's right there. He's my favorite too. I've got him right there.
Clawful and Mossman are my two favorites.
The fun fact of those Stactions was it's actually really hard to find one still in the package because they were so heavy because they were hanging from pegs. They would peel the blister bubble off them. So if you keep them in the package, you have to set them. I opened all mine. I
opened up all mine.
I've got
they did Rio Blast. Like, how awesome is that? Like, what the hell? Like,
dude, I love Rio Blast.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Cannot wait till Origins releases him. We got Stone Dar coming. That's
I love
latest.
Those guys too.
Soon. Yeah.
Yep. He's coming out soon. I fucking love him.
You know what the thing is? They don't make, because G.I. Joe is good like this too, and Thundercats and Transformers, the big ones that have survived because they created a world. And not only that, there's a lot of people that like a lot of, like, I'm sitting here watching He-Man. I'm like, I like every character. It looks cool to me. I'm like, you weren't disappointed. One of the problems, this is a problem with some toys where if you don't get the guy you like, you're kind of like, but you know, it's like everyone had He-Man and Skeletor because they kept re-releasing them.
Yeah, there's 100 versions of those.
100, yeah. Let's say you missed Merman. You're like, yeah, but I got Trapjaw. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, let's say you had Trapjaw, Skeletor, and like Webstore, and you're like, well, that looks pretty cool. And you're like, well, I got this cool spider guy. It's like Trapjaw's awesome. It's like I got Skeletor. You're like, this is good. And this is something that they just can't figure out now. And they can't figure it out because they don't care and they don't understand it. That's it. It has nothing to do with them, you know, whatever, you know, woke stuff or whatever. It doesn't matter. They don't understand it. You know, I just saw Madam Web. They don't get it. We want to see the Spider Women fight people. That's it. Yeah. If you're not going to give us that, what are you making this movie for? It's like He-Man. This movie, it's like, I want to see He-Man and Skeletor fight. Check. We got it. I want to see Skeletor being a badass and doing cool shit. Yeah, check. He's awesome in this. Evelyn does cool stuff. Beastman fights. Man-at-Arms and Teela fight. It's like, I want to see them shoot and fight. That's what happens in it. And then, yeah, the story needs to be good too. But they don't want to give you the core thing. They refuse to give you this Snake Eyes movie. I want to see Snake Eyes, who is one of the coolest characters. Look, Snake Eyes is one of the coolest characters around. He
was mysterious.
Yeah,
we didn't know enough about him. Like, hell, even his file card had question marks on the back of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, here's the origin of him. He's not Snake Eyes till the end. It's like, so this person hates G.I. Joe. That's the only conclusion I can come up with because you showed me your product. It's like you can tell when someone likes it or when someone doesn't like it.
And he didn't watch the other movies because we got a backstory for Snake Eyes.
Yeah. He didn't even bother to watch the other movies.
The whole sequel was based off of that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
I'm the biggest Snake Eyes fan here, and I'll tell you what, I felt raped when I watched that movie to a point because here's the reason. Because not only did he become Snake Eyes at the end, which was one of the baddest ass Snake Eyes outfits ever that they put on film. Blew the other two away that they did in those two movies. But when the movie ended, I'm like, motherfucker, this movie's not going to make any money and we're not going to get a sequel and see him wear that goddamn outfit for the second one. I got so pissed off.
No, I'll say one last thing. I'm tired of this. It'll get better. So a few years ago, like that, I don't know if anyone's watched Marco Polo on Netflix, just as a random example.
Oh, yeah, I like that, yeah.
So my wife had watched it, and then we're looking for something to watch now. And she's like, you never watched Marco Polo? I was like, no, I never watched that. She's like, well, I loved it. I'm like, okay. Like episode 1, I was like, well, that was really good. And then episode 2, I'm like, this is like bloody awesome. That's it. Like first episode was awesome. The second episode was like super good. And like now we're like almost done season 1 and it's the damn best 10 out of 10. Every scene is the best. And you're like, yeah, what do I have to? Oh, Snake Eyes, the first movie. Oh, well, the sequel will have more Snake Eyes. What are you talking about? How come there's no Snake Eyes in part 1?
In the movie called Snake Eyes.
This is the movie called Snake Eyes. Yeah. Raiders of the Lost Ark. It starts out with Indiana Jones doing cool shit immediately. The opening thing with Raiders of the Lost Ark, one of the best intros to any film ever of any kind. Still I don't care what it is.
Yeah, and made its first impression in like 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Right.
Like my imagination, because I'm like, this guy's on a mission already. He's doing stuff. He goes through these traps. The boulder comes, and you get the sense that, oh my God, he's been doing this a lot. Your imagination is unlocked. What other adventures has this person been on? The movie hasn't even started, and you're like, what? Oh my God, like what has he been on? My God, if this is just one of many adventures that he's been on, this is so exciting. What's going to happen in the rest of this movie? Holy crap, right? And it's like, this is the first 10 minutes. Star Wars. Oh, it'll get better. Obi-Wan. Oh, the show will get better. Or it'll get better. What are you talking about? The first 10 minutes. If each episode of Andor is 30 minutes or Obi-Wan is 30 minutes, take the first 30 minutes of Star Wars. There's like a mega ship coming. Eat another ship. Guys come shoot. This big guy comes, grabs that guy. Where's the plans? Throws him down. These 2 robots get sent in this pod. You're like, what the hell's going on? She hides a thing. She's arguing with the guy. They're trapped on this desert planet. You're like, holy shit, this movie's awesome. That's the first half an hour. It didn't take 2 movies to get better. I'm done. I'm like literally done with all this crap. it's just over. I don't know. I know Star Wars. We lasted a long time without Star Wars.
No, we've been doing good.
We've actually
on
stuck to the source material. I think
Pretty
the
good.
best we've ever done this
really
episode. Good. That was like an hour and 10 minutes. I think we did before.
Congratulations, everybody!
Congratulations all around, doctor.
Can I just go back to Dolph Lundgren's hair because it's its own special effect in this movie? Listen, at the end of that last finale battle, he's sweating. It's like, but then when he comes back and he's walking with them at the end, it's like, where did the hairdryer come from? How did he get his hair to look that damn good after
that right there tells you they filmed that way early on,
right? It's like that scene came before.
He's so cleaned up. I like it's like at the end of Star Wars where they're all where like C-3PO is like ultra shiny. You're like, whoa, like
little much there, a little much on the buff.
You get to see He-Man.
Get that.
That's we never saw the attorney and barber in the cartoon.
He had the best hair in that movie. I got
Barbour. Damn it, Sean! I was gonna say it first. You got me.
I've seen this.
You got me.
I've seen this movie so many times. That's what I'm focusing on now. I'm like, damn, his hair.
Robot Chicken showed us the dentist because we got Molar.
Molar,
yeah.
I've got that toy.
I have that classic.
What a waste of money.
Inside it is worth more than the entire set because it went on clearance. But it's the first version of Skeletor based off that one. I will never get rid of it because the one head is missing a tooth. I love that so much.
Listen, his hair products was probably half the budget. Let me tell you.
Oh my God.
Man.
Well, Dolph Lundgren is a He-Man figure. I remember this guy at work talking to me about He-Man. He's like, "You ever see like?" This is ages ago. It's like he didn't know me well at that time. He's like, "You see that He-Man movie?" I'm like, "That's like a very silly question, but yes, I have seen the He-Man movie." He's like, "Then the Dolph Lundgren guy is He-Man." He goes. If you told me to draw a picture of a guy, he goes, I would draw that guy.
Dolph.
They're gonna remake Masters of the Universe. Did you hear about that?
Travis Knight is going to be directing it.
But listen,
he directed
how long have
we
heard
this?
They'll never for 20 years we've heard about a He-Man movie, and until I see the trailer, I don't care.
And everybody that they've announced that was attached to play He-Man, I was like, this is not.
Why don't just fucking cast Alan Richardson? That's the only person I will take or Dolph Lundgren as an old grizzled He-Man.
Give me King He-Man or something. Yeah, King Grayskull. Let it be him.
Like whoever get, it's not going to be Dolph.
It needs to be that or someone I've never heard of, but when they show him, you're like, that dude looks like He-Man.
Yeah.
Not what's his face from Iron Claw just because he got bulked up for wrestling. I can't think of his name now. He was
Zac Efron.
Not Efron. That's the only picture that came around.
It needs to be Alan Richardson because he's fucking huge. He even looks like the He-Man figure, which we discussed before. And like that, he's the only type of actor. It has to be someone who's fucking huge and blonde.
Look up,
and he's hot. He's hot now because of Reachers. So it's like you would be stupid not.
But they won't. They'll cast somebody else.
Exactly. That's because they're stupid and they have no idea what they're doing, and money blinds them, and they just make stupid decisions.
I know. I got an idea. Let's make a movie, but we'll kill off He-Man in the beginning, and then we'll have Teela take over the entire story, and you won't get what you're here to actually watch. That's a great idea. How can you lose?
But I love the property. I do.
Yeah. Well, just to beat that up a bit more. Why didn't they just make a Teela show then with He-Man as a side character and have a little story? Because I like Teela. Everyone here likes Teela's
always a great character.
Yeah, but they ruined Teela. That's the other thing. Everyone keeps saying they ruined He-Man, they killed him. No, they did. But they also ruined the character we're following, which is Teela. She's a whiner, and it's all about me. You lied to me.
Yeah, she's
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not Teela. Is that the Teela in this movie? Is that the Teela in the cartoon? It's like, Teela is loyal to Randor. She's an amazing warrior. She trains Adam. It's like she's a good person and she has duty and she's dedicated. Like she has honor. She would never say, "Oh, He-Man, you lied to me. I'm going to give up my station and walk off." This is the Teela. And then they're saying, "Oh, you guys just don't like it because we killed off He-Man." Well, A, yes, and B, you also ruined Teela. Like you ruined a lot of people in that show.
Yeah.
Like
it's
not just
cynicism and embarrassment. That's what
it is. Yes.
Yeah. It's like I know some people derive pleasure from those shows. It's fine, but like you could tell they were embarrassed by what they were doing. They had no respect for the property. Every single thing is how stupid everything is, how stupid Castle Grayskull is. It's really this other palace. You know, it's all just like distancing itself from it. They really need people that love this stuff and not look at it with a sort of like plug your nose and, you know,
not someone that looked at how much it was going to pay them and then go, oh, I do love this property now. Who has been on the record saying, I don't know anything about He-Man.
You know,
now it's the best, you know.
Or it pisses me off when somebody gets the job and they're like, the first thing I did was I went back and started reading all the comic books. Should you hire somebody who had already read the comic books before?
Hell, I'll take someone that actually did go back and read them. Now we're not even getting that.
We're not even getting that. That's what I was going to say. It's like, we're not even getting that.
Learning it for the first time. That's what happened with Star Trek 2. You know, Rick Berman, was that his name? He didn't know anything about Star Trek, and he went back and watched all the shows, and then he concocted Star Trek 2, which is one of the most, you know, celebrated Star Trek movies of all time.
Fair enough.
So,
it really is.
No, they have respect and understand storytelling. I like that. You don't have to be a super fan going in.
No,
you could become a fan. You know.
You know, it's what's making sense now because, you know, J-Man told us about watching Madam Web, not to go all the way back, but I was watching the interviews of the one, what's the Spider-Girl's name, the actress?
Sydney Sweeney, the one
whoever was the one that she was going, why am I not hanging upside down? It's the most iconic picture from the comics. They're like, this has been everywhere in their marketing. That should have been a big clue because they normally don't like being told what they have to put into a movie. But my guess is now, because it's so few scenes of her in the suit, the one thing is probably her hanging upside down like she is in the comic. You know, one of the most iconic covers they've ever done of her. And for the actress to be pushing for it, that should have been like a big red flag right there. Like they weren't going to put that in till you asked to do it. That's a problem. You know, that should have been, hey, guess what? You're going to hang upside down. Okay, cool. I'm Spider-Woman. I should be doing that. Not, hey, can I? No, please. This is what they're expecting. And they go, okay, fine, we'll do it. You know, that's what the thought of it is now. They don't give a shit about the IPs. It's about, we got to get it out there. And like we were talking in our group chat, this is just Sony keeping the rights away from Disney. They have to release a movie ever so often. If it loses money, I love how they make this big deal. Oh, it lost so much money. It's a tax write-off for them.
Right.
It could lose every dime. Warner Brothers is purposely tanking movies and not releasing them just for the tax write-off. Coyote versus Acme was actually doing well with all the test audiences.
Yeah.
People were excited for that. I got a friend of mine that was actually working on that. Never coming out.
Nope.
Never coming out. They're taking the tax cut. When a movie fails, oh, it was so bad, we'll never recover. It's a tax write-off. It's a tax write-off.
Yeah, they're looking
plain
at
and simple.
Legislating that out because basically all that is it's like setting a house on fire when you're trying to build it. It's the same thing. And getting the
fraud.
Tax money. That's exactly what it is.
It's literal fraud. It can be insurance fraud. It can be tax fraud. It can be anything. But all it is them not wanting to relinquish the rights. You know, they won't put their poster child, Spider-Man, Tom Holland, in one of these. That's why he's not showing up in them. Is because they know it's shit. It's not like they're gonna come out and go, oh, I don't know why it's doing so bad. I don't know. You knew it was shit because you put it out. It's garbage. You just wanted the rights because you were going to lose them back to Marvel, and Disney owns Marvel now. You have to do so many in so much
every 5 years, or unless they have a different option or something. But they're just pumping it. Well, they just cast Fantastic Four. That was announced as soon as I got back from the theater. They announced those four.
Yeah. Okay.
I like Pedro, but he's not Reed Richards.
He's not Reed Richards.
No, he has no presence.
He's also in everything.
That's why he was in an outfit for the whole for a whole show.
They already showed us the perfect casting for Reed Richards.
Yeah,
you know, John Krasinski.
Who did it?
Had it.
He
did it.
Reed Richards.
The fans wanted him.
He doesn't want to though. It's him. John Krasinski does not want to do it. Yeah,
he's honestly. He's probably the smart thing going. Yeah, I know I could do it, but they're not going to let me do it to the way the people want.
Right.
And that's probably exactly why he's bowing out, which is
guys
smart.
own stuff. Yeah.
We just want the regular Fantastic Four.
I just want to mention one last thing about He-Man, and J-Man's going to kill me for this, but there was another He-Man movie released a year after this one in the Philippines. It's a parody called She-Man, Mistress of the Universe.
Oh, that's awesome.
I hunted this down for years, and it's on YouTube now. You can watch it. Okay. It's a parody. It's basically it combines He-Man and Panday, which is a popular superhero in the Philippines, and he fights Skeletor. And at the end, Skeletor comes out of his outfit, and he's just a stop motion skeleton, and he fights him and stuff. It's fun. It's goofy. There's a version of the Wind Raider, and there's another. There's a character that looks exactly like Ram Man, but he's a villain. It's a whole thing. There aren't very many English subtitle versions of it. There used to be one, and it's gone now. It's fun. It's got some of the big stars at the time in the Philippines. So it's a movie that Filipinos know. But that's here cool, it's a big mystery. So anyway.
I'm intrigued. J-Man, find that.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Get on it, J-Man.
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna be that excited though. Just to let you guys know.
I just had to mention it because it's a fun little weird footnote. There's a there's also an Indian dance number which is all He-Man related, and I can't remember what movie. You can look up Indian He-Man on YouTube, and it's a guy in a He-Man outfit, and there's an Orko character, and all sorts of like Skeletor statues and stuff. It's pretty neat.
I thought I had it, but I have a Turkish Rambo floating around here. Somebody.
Oh my God!
I got Turkish Superman. He's got the biggest eyebrows ever.
We got a buddy of ours got them all at a rental play or a video place in Florida. He bought like 10 of them and gave them to us. We've got like the Turkish Rambo, the Turkish Star Wars, the Wizard of Oz, the Evil Dead, like this stack of Turkish knockoff movies.
Probably 3 Devidem, which is the most famous one.
Right. And they're like legit movies though. Like the Turkish Rambo one is a legit movie. They just call it the Turkish Rambo.
Yeah.
But it's a straight up rip, like the storyline and everything.
Yeah.
I must have put it somewhere else. I had the cover of it and everything. I was like, I'm watching this one day.
I'll say this too. Oh yeah, well, Deadpool, of course.
Of course, we're hyped for that because we're literally getting fed that Ryan Reynolds is giving Disney the middle finger the entire production. You know what I would have done? Can I say this? Can I say this about Deadpool? Here's what I would have done. Sure. This is the best idea in the universe ever. Best idea in the universe. Deadpool kills the MCU. That's what I would have done. I would have brought back all the Eternals, Captain Marvel, everyone, and Deadpool kills them all, kills the entire universe at the very end, kills the writers of She-Hulk, and then resets the entire thing. Wouldn't that be the best ever? That's what they did in the comics. So
yeah, the rumor is that he's killing all the Fox versions of the characters.
I heard that.
Yeah,
but that's not good enough. He needs to kill. He needs to kill the MCU people because they're all.
He needs to kill all the Wave 4 guys. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and then he's gonna kill. And then he sees old Captain America, and he's like, and he turns to the screen. He's like, I can't kill Cap. And then he's like, on second thought, screw it. And then I cut his head off. It's like, I like make it super gory.
I want him wearing like a Robert Downey Jr. shirt, like Robert Downey Jr.'s head, but it's Robert Downey Jr., not Tony Stark. That's what I want.
Oh yes.
I'll watch it. I'm looking forward to it. I've watched all the Deadpool movies. I mean, they're a blast. So it'll get my money.
Yeah, I watched the Marvels actually the other day. Finally, it was on Disney Plus. I didn't hate it. There were 2 scenes which I hated. The planet where the musical planet
singing,
that sucked, and then the scenes with the Flurkins where everyone has to get eaten by them, and then
I saw that clip on something. I'm like, what is going on?
I'm like, come on! But I actually liked the 3 leads. Like the 3 ladies were fine in it. I had no problem with that. I like the music, even though it kind of ripped off the end credits theme of Man of Steel. I love it. It was a good superheroic theme tune. I thought it was all right. I've seen plenty worse. I mean, people
I'll watch it when I get bored.
Yeah, I mean, people hated the movie before it even came out. I mean, I've never seen such vitriol to a movie before it was even released. Before.
That's Brie Larson.
They're just done with people.
It. Yeah,
they're just done with all of it. I gave it a 5 out of 10, and I did a stream where we found at least 20 Marvel related things that we all hated worse. I did a stream where it was just things that are worse than the Marvels, and there was a lot. There was ended up being like something like 20 some things. I think Sean was on that one, and we just like
I didn't click on that article. Yeah,
I saw that and I was like, No, Rambo with
Nope.
Sylvester Stallone. Just leave it. The character's done.
Leave it.
Create a new fucking character. Stop trying to ruin
God,
old
yeah.
characters. It's like Rambo's story's done. Like, no.
Yeah. Let him rest. He's finished. Is it man? That's Michael Jackson meme.
What's this? You're looking. Oh, they're just in the thing you're sending.
Oh, I just posted that. So I have Dolph Lundgren's autograph, and I did it through a virtual convention. It's personalized to me on a He-Man picture, and you can get Punisher or whatever. So if anyone wants it, like, I don't know if Charlie, if you have Dolph Lundgren's autograph or anything.
So he's supposed to be coming not too far from me to Fanboy.
So we're all going to be meeting him this summer. Yeah.
I'm. So the last couple times I've tried to go to Fanboy, I've ended up having to work out of town, and I'm not there for it. So I'm crossing my fingers. But also, Fanboy's notorious for having people cancel like 2 weeks ahead of time or a week ahead of time.
Okay.
And you never know with those guys. I mean, Dolph's not a young dude, and he just had surgery. What? Couple months ago or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got my autograph from this one. I sent you guys the link. I get all my stuff there. It is a real convention. It is authentic.
Yeah.
They personalize. I think Dolph charges like $30 to personalize it, but he wrote to Jason, "You have the power, Dolph Lundgren." So I've got that. And so that's where I got it from.
That's a hell of a lot cheaper than buying the ticket, driving the 2
No.
hours.
It's not $30. It's $30 to it's $150 and $30 extra to personalize the autograph.
There you go. Okay.
Oh, that's still cheaper to do.
It is cheaper. That's what I'm saying. It's cheaper anyways. And Charlie, and that's in your money, so it won't be as bad for you. Like for me, I had to pay $30-something shipping.
Right.
But I'm just saying it's trustworthy. I've gotten many things from that site. So
there's another one doing it that Casper Van Dien is doing, like a virtual signing, and he's doing it like a live stream, so you can get on there and you can talk to him and tell him what to sign. And I think it was only like 50 or 60 bucks.
Already met him, already interviewed him.
I interviewed him.
It's Rico, man. I get excited. I'm friends with him on Facebook, so nah.
Well, I like him as Tarzan. I got that poster. I've got the Tarzan poster. I love that Tarzan movie. I thought it was wicked.
He'll always be Rico and the dude from Sleepy Hollow that gets his head cut off.
He said I was an honorary roughneck. I was like, yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I geeked out. I was like, sorry. I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be interviewing right now, but
right. So this is the last show for a while. I'm doing all kinds of shit with work right now. I'm trained on a new software and whatever, so I'm just going to be busy for a while. So it could be March or April before we do the next one. We'll see when that happens. But next week I am a guest on That Fat Samurai Guys show. And we're discussing the transporter versus the beekeeper, which is interesting. And I'm looking forward to that. Actually, I need to watch the transporter again because it's been a few years, but I already know my answer. So that is that next Thursday? Yeah, I think it's next Thursday on That Fat Samurai Guys channel.
I think
so I'll show
streams are Thursday.
Yeah, so I'll do that because it's my birthday next Friday, so I'm out for that. So I'll see you all when I'm 46. So you guys have anything cool coming up then? Because I ain't doing shit.
It's the month of Pete, man. I don't got much I can promote. Some of these stupid ass movies. Although I did get introduced to a Ultraman type character for our finale, which is called Inframan.
Oh, that's a great movie.
That was actually really good, and I enjoyed that. The other two in the middle of all this suck. Seventh Curse, playing on Tubi. I highly recommend watching that, guys.
Yeah.
That was a lot of freaking fun, and it's actually more of an action movie than horror. So, and then when we come back in March after Pete, we're doing entry level action and horror movies for kids, stuff like Gremlins and Three Musketeers, the Disney version. You know, just the things that had a lot of action or some scary moments, but not R-rated, not restricted. So we're gonna have some fun with that.
Cool.
Alrighty.
We're what are we doing? Tomorrow tomorrow's nothing. The Thursday, Friday is Daredevil, so we're doing Frank Miller's Daredevil run. Then Monday's Legion of Superheroes, so every Monday's Legion of Superheroes, and then we're doing Transformers, 10 episodes of season 2. We're going to do that next Thursday, Sean and I. And I just reviewed Madam Web, which is trash. What else? I don't know. Go follow me on all of the things and whatever. argue with me if you think I'm an idiot.
Never.
Yeah, he loves every minute of it, so go ahead.
I do love every minute. I legitimately do.
And remember, know who's hotter, B. Arthur or Karg? Let us know in the comments below. This is important. The world needs to know.
We need to post that on the page, guys. That's we can't.
I actually thought Karg was. I always thought Karg was played by Linda Hunt. It was like so, like the that wee woman who's in NCIS LA and
Yeah.
So I thought it was. I'm just under makeup, and I was like, oh, it's actually that guy. Sorry, Linda. I won't be interviewing her anytime soon.
Whoopsie.
Anyway, on that note, we'll finish up, and we'll just finish up by saying good journey to all of you until next time, whenever that may be. And remember, you are the action elite.